Lucas Auer was on pole position for the second from last race of the DTM season for 2018, with the championship going to the wire. Lucas Auer ahead of Gary Paffett then in P2. Augusto Farfus P3, getting the better of René Rast, and Paul di Resta trying hard to move up the order. Of course, Paul di Resta leading the Drivers' Championship going into this race. Gary Paffett didn't have too much trouble getting past Lucas Auer to take up the lead of this race. So Gary Paffett P1, Lucas Auer P2, Augusto Farfus P3, but under pressure from René Rast. Gary Paffett came in for his mandatory pit stop and tyre change. However, it was one lap later than when René Rast had come in for his mandatory tyre change. So René Rast's tyres were up to temperature. Gary Paffett was having to drive on effectively cold tyres, and that meant he was always potentially going to be at risk from René Rast as he hauled him in, heading up towards the hairpin. René Rast going through on the outside of Gary Paffett. However, the battle was still to ensue, because Gary Paffett, with DRS availability, puts himself to the outside of René Rast. René Rast occupies the middle of the track and makes it really difficult. And in scenes reminiscent of the opening round here at Hockenheim, right at the beginning of the season, when the battle was within Timo Glock and Gary Paffett's cars, this time it was Gary Paffett and René Rast. They were side by side for lap after lap after lap. There was some gentle panel rubbing between the two of them, and this was an incredible move from René Rast going into the hairpin, dive to the inside of Gary Paffett. Cool as a cucumber though, the Englishman puts himself back ahead of René Rast, or does he? Because René Rast was going to stay right alongside the Mercedes-Benz all the way into the next turn, which is taken absolutely flat, which would give him the inside for the next turn. So René Rast and Gary Paffett having a brilliant race. Losing a door was Augusto Farfus. Now the consequence of that meaning that debris across the track, the safety car was going to have to be called for, which called for an Indy-style restart. Side by side, the cars went, and when they were released, it was René Rast that got the better of Gary Paffett. Timo Glock looked all the way around the outside. He would find himself in P3. So the Indy-style restart, and well, I remind you of that opening race at Hockenheim at the beginning of the season. Well, Timo Glock was alongside Gary Paffett once again, and then Gary Paffett was suffering against the Audi driver Robin Freins. So Robin Freins then into the hairpin, carries quite a lot of speed. Gary almost connects with the back end of the Timo Glock car, but then the exit that Robin Freins had was supreme. We can see it from being on board the Timo Glock car. So the order then was René Rast leading the race, and Paul di Resta with Nico Muller and Mike Rockenfeller was having a torrid time of it. As I said, going into this race, of course, he was leading the Drivers' Championship. We always knew it was going to go to the last round. It's going to go right to the wire in the final race of the season, as Paul di Resta really battling hard in the Mercedes-Benz. We're on board with him. And there, the number 99 car of Mike Rockenfeller ahead of Paul di Resta. René Rast then would make it 5 wins out of 5 race starts as he headed towards the checkered flag. René Rast won from Robin Freins P2 and Timo Glock P3, Gary Paffett P4.